30 years ago, on April 26, 1986, north of Kiev, Ukraine, the greatest technological disaster of the 20th century has occurred. The infamous Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded, sending a poisonous and highly radioactive plume into the atmosphere. The accident released 100 times more radiation than the Nagasaki and Hiroshima bombs combined. However, not many people realized just how bad it could have really become. 10 days after the initial explosions, another potential disaster in the making was identified. As the core was melting, the damaged reactor was sinking and burning through the floor. Had the smoldering radioactive lava made contact with water in the flooded chamber below, it would have set off a massive thermonuclear explosion. It would have leveled 200 square kilometers and vaporized the fuel in the 3 other reactors. If this happened, millions of civilians would have died, and the resulting radioactive fallout would have turned Europe into a nuclear wasteland. It was only a matter of time. The only way to prevent the second explosion and to save Europe was to drain away this water from the bubbler pool. And to do that, somebody had to dive under the reactor and manually release the floodgate safety valves. The radiation exposure of this diving mission was many times the lethal dose. With full knowledge of the danger and with only basic scuba gear, 3 volunteers dived into the heavily radioactive water. When their only flashlight gave out, in the darkness, they were forced to try and find the valves by feeling their way along a pipe. Somehow they succeeded. All 3 returned to the surface already suffering severe radiation poisoning. About a fortnight later, they died in a hospital in Moscow. 30 years ago, 3 good men laid down their lives to save the future of Europe. Their names were Valery Bespalov, Alexei Ananenko, and Boris Baranov. There should have been a statue of them in every European city they've saved. But unfortunately, very few know their story. There were many heroes at Chernobyl like this. Many men who gave their lives to save others. Of the approximately 600,000 liquidators that were engaged in Chernobyl cleanup, roughly 50,000 were required to work as biorobots. Unfortunately, the world may never know all of their stories. Rest in peace, unsung heroes. We remember your sacrifice.